Hello there! Welcome to our last part of the Petty Girl segment. So in part one, we looked at the image, the artist, and a little bit about pinup culture during the Second World War. In part two, we looked at old school Hollywood, the Hays Code, and how the Petty Girl kind of fit into that mix. And in this segment right here, we'll see if we can bring her up to today. Hopefully she takes our call. If we put the Petty Girl in a lineage of ideal American womanhood that began with the Gibson Girl, then the Christie Girl, followed by the Petty Girl, with next coming Hugh Hefner's Girl Next Door photographic series in Playboy, things slowly get more publicly risque as cultural norms that coalesced in the Victorian era are questioned and lessened. If we think of the rules that the Hays Code put in place, like no nudity, no profanity, or no physical violence, those have all been worn away in movies and television over the past 60 years. However, white women are still generally the ones with the most screen time, and the good girl and bad girl split based on an invisible morality line set by someone other than the woman featured in the plot still lingers on and off the screen. On the screen, this cultural norm persists, resulting in movies that focus on the good girl or bad girl types. You can think of most romantic comedies and newer parodies of the genre, like I Feel Pretty or rom-com, that complicate those traditional paths. Additionally, many contemporary films fail the Bechdel-Wallace test, a measurement adopted in the early 2010s by feminist film critics that ask if a work features at least two women, if those two women are named, and if they ever speak about anything other than their interest in a man. About 60% of films pass, which means about 40% of films don't. Off the screen, there are things like slut-shaming, or looking down on women for or not viewing them as marriage material if they've had too many sexual partners. It seems like the focus on women is a women's issue. But if we go back to those pinups that were given to soldiers in order to foster a sense of normalcy and maintain their interest in women, we see that the way one gender is presented affects the other by telling them what they should want in a partner, not to mention all the other genders and orientations possible, or all the other races the white-centric depictions leave out. Conversely, if we go back to our arrow collar man and use him, or a newer variation like the Old Spice guy, as our expectation that every man should meet, that's a high luck of genetics and life circumstances bar to meet. Most people fall short. That's why advertisements that use aspirational logic are so successful. They are appealing to our insecurities. That's also how implicit biases were built into and still pervade our culture. Ideal norms are connected, long-standing, and limiting. People don't usually fall into neat categories. In a current moment that is still chipping away at the norm of tying a woman's worth to her virtue, I thought I'd be clever and put in the caption, "Not your call," because at the end of the day, every person sets their own self-worth. Other people's opinions are just that, opinions, and you can choose to acknowledge them or not. However, that's a really easy thing to say, but it's not always easy to believe, especially if you are around people who think differently than you. So I slipped in an additional question. Or is it? Because cultural norms are really an ongoing conversation about navigating your own individual identity within a larger network of group identities. Humans are always in a dialogue with ourselves, our families and friends, the media, the government, etc. In order to affect change, large or small, you'll have to talk to people and share your perspective. Ask questions about gender, race, politics, history, art. Everything in the human experience is fair game. It's also amazing to respectfully agree to disagree. Differences are what make life exciting. But talking about these larger issues is a great first step to open up any sort of dialogue for change. And there are undeniably some areas in our culture that could be improved. Hello there! So this has been our look into George Petty and the Petty Girl. I hope you've had some laughs and thought some things along the way. Later, Gators.